Hey everyone. This is Six Path Weeb, and welcome to the ultimate dimension of fanfiction greatness. Today's epic what if journey: what if Naruko were the Ōtsutsuki God? That's right, we're diving into a reality where power, destiny, and chakra rewrite themselves completely. Whether you're a diehard shinobi or just stumbled through a space-time rift into this channel, you're in for a wild ride. Quick disclaimer. All anime content used here belongs to its rightful creators. This channel is just a sandbox of imagination, for entertainment and discussion only. Now grab your ramen, sharpen your kunai. Because it's time to unleash God-tier fanfiction. Let's get into it, guys. A blonde-haired girl, around 13 years old, could be seen drifting toward the bottom of the ocean, unconscious, a massive sword having struck her side, an act committed not by an enemy, but someone she had once considered a teammate. She had brilliant blue eyes that gleamed with a resilient spirit. Her sun-kissed skin bore 3 distinct whisker-like marks on each cheek. She wore an orange and blue jumpsuit, complemented by blue sandals. This young girl was Uzumaki Naruko, a determined ninja whose ideals had clashed with those of her teammate, Uchiha Sasuke. He had been upset after she had persuaded their opponent to stand down, denying him a chance to awaken a special power he desired so desperately. As her consciousness faded, Naruko weakly raised her hand and murmured something defiant before slipping into unconsciousness. What she didn't know was that her body had just been wrapped in a radiant cocoon of pure, protective energy. Inside this cocoon, 3 women appeared. The first had long, spiky silver hair and luminous pale skin. Her golden eyes sparkled with a commanding grace, and a pair of elegant horns curved from her head. She wore a soft plum-colored kimono adorned with red prayer beads, her lips tinted with a gentle pink gloss. Her appearance radiated power and divinity. This was Tsubasa, also known as the Shinigami. Beside her stood another ethereal woman with flowing silver white hair and eyes as pale as moonlight. A gentle slit adorned her forehead, flanked by delicate horn-like projections. She was dressed in a refined, high-collared Heim-style white kimono, embroidered with black comma-shaped symbols. Light purple lipstick graced her lips. This was Ōtsutsuki Kaguya, the fabled celestial princess. The third figure had striking black and golden blonde hair that shimmered with otherworldly light. Her emerald green eyes had rubies at their core, and golden arches framed her back. She wore a white and dark gray kimono with abstract patterns and gold markings around her eyes. She was Kami, known to some as Arceus, the creator of a distant realm and the guardian of mystical beings called Pokemon. Tsubasa gently removed the weapon from Naruko's side and tended to her wounds with great care. Her expression grew grave upon discovering old scars across Naruko's body, markings of deep loneliness and rejection. Turning to Kaguya, Tsubasa spoke softly, "This child. She is your chance for redemption. 13 years ago, the 9-tailed fox was sealed inside her due to a clerical mistake by Kami. Her assigned guardian never fulfilled their duty, and she has endured hardships no child should face. Despite it all, Naruko's heart has remained bright and untouched by bitterness. Kami has finally completed the paperwork to correct this mistake." With a warm smile, Tsubasa continued, "Kaguya, you have been chosen to become her true mother. And Kami has approved your request to bring your children into this world. Naruko will become the first to summon them, not as tools, but as friends and family." Kami nodded. "Once Kaguya becomes her mother, I'll bestow her with special blessings. She has the heart of a protector." Kaguya knelt beside Naruko and gently brushed one of her whisker marks. "She is filled with potential. And hope. I would be honored to call her my daughter." Tsubasa explained, "We'll need a little of your essence, Kaguya. With this needle, blessed by Kami and Izanagi, a drop of your blood will transform her into your child." Without hesitation, Kaguya rolled up her sleeve, and Tsubasa drew the blood, which quickly turned into radiant gold. She gently administered it to Naruko, and moments later, the girl stirred. "Ah! I'm awake. Haruno, don't poke me with that kunai again," Naruko mumbled, blinking. Hearing 3 gentle laughs, she looked around and gasped at the sight of the women. Kaguya stepped forward and gently explained everything, the truth of who they were, what had happened, and what Naruko now meant to them. Naruko blinked, then smiled, hugging Kaguya warmly. "I must be really lucky to have such a kind and beautiful woman as my new mom." Kaguya blushed slightly and replied, "I am even more fortunate to have you as my daughter." Naruko tilted her head curiously. "You have eyes like the Hyuga. Does this mean I get their special vision too?" Kaguya shook her head gently. "Not quite, but you'll be receiving something even greater. Allow me to show you." With a focused breath, Kaguya channeled chakra to the slit on her forehead. It slowly opened to reveal a powerful eye, deep crimson with 6 rings, each adorned with 6 brilliant white tomoe. This is the Keishugan, the Eye of Chaos, Kaguya explained. It surpasses the 3 great dojutsu. It grants full elemental mastery, perceptive abilities beyond imagination, and harmony with chakra in all forms. Naruko's eyes lit up. That's incredible, Mom. Kami stepped forward. Now it's my turn, dear Naruko. As your new summoning partner, you'll gain the trust of 6 of my most powerful children. You will meet and bond with Giratina, the ruler of a mysterious mirrored world. Moltres, the embodiment of flame. Articuno, the majestic queen of ice. Kyogre, the guardian of the seas. Mewtwo, a being of pure thought and unmatched power. Zekrom, the Stormbringer, lightning made divine. They will be your allies, friends, and family, if you treat them with respect and love. Naruko smiled brightly. I'll take care of them like they were my own siblings. That's a promise. Tsubasa stepped forward once again. Now, Naruko Ōtsutsuki, you've achieved something no human ever has. You have earned the respect and blessings of all 8 eternal deities. Today, we welcome you as the 9th eternal deity, the guardian of balance, technology, and renewal. Naruko bowed deeply. Thank you, Tsubasa-sama. I will honor this gift with all my heart. Tsubasa giggled. You can call me Tsubasa-ne if you'd like. Now, there's one final matter. What would you like to do with the 9-tailed fox spirit? Naruko tilted her head. Can she stay with me, just, maybe, in a different form? Tsubasa nodded. She can't remain sealed in you now that you're divine. But, if you'd like, she can be transferred into another vessel. Naruko pointed at the large sword from earlier. How about that? Tsubasa examined it with a playful smirk. That can work, so long as she agrees. With a flick of her hand, a red orb floated out from Naruko and settled into the sword, transforming it into a sleek crimson katana. It shimmered with energy. Naruko picked up the newly transformed blade. All right, Jinx-ne, let's take on the world together. Tsubasa, now with a serious tone, said, we have to go. Kaguya must return to the moon, Kami to her world, and I to the endless paperwork that awaits. Kaguya embraced her daughter. Don't hide anymore, Naruko. Let your light shine. And don't be shy with people like Yuigao Uzuki. Go ahead, be brave. Naruko nodded. I will, Mom. With that, the 3 goddesses vanished, leaving Naruko alone, stronger, wiser, and surrounded by new possibilities. She held her elegant katana close and whispered. All right, Jinx. Time to rise. She then closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and released the aura shielding her energy. As the cool water brushed against her skin, Naruko focused on the power within, specifically the fiery energy of Moltres, but found it difficult to concentrate due to the abundant marine life surrounding her, including a curious-looking shark. Soon, a surge of intense warmth ignited within her, and she tapped into it. Her body glowed with radiant flame, and she imagined the echoing cry of a majestic bird above. Crouching low, she gathered chakra into her legs and propelled herself upward with force. She breached the surface of the ocean and soared into the sky above the bridge. Unaware of how she appeared, she was entirely cloaked in flames that took the shape of a magnificent bird. From this aerial vantage, she could see all of Wave Country and beyond. Narrowing her gaze, Naruko tightened her grip on her blade, Jinx. She spotted Kakashi clashing with Sasuke, while Sakura was attempting to intervene. Haku was being restrained by Tazuna, who himself was being held back by Zabuza. The only one not actively participating seemed to be Sakura, clearly overwhelmed. Naruko sighed, wondering how she ever admired someone so unmotivated. Shaking her head, she turned her attention to a large group approaching the bridge, an organized force, led by a small man she identified as Gato. Noticing the numerous ships advancing, she closed her eyes, mentally recalling the summoning hand signs. Biting her finger lightly on a canine tooth, she formed the signs and pressed her hand against Jinx's blade. Summoning Jutsu. She called. In a burst of smoke, a group of powerful creatures appeared, towering, bipedal blue and red alligators, and massive blue turtles with built-in water cannons. Activating her mental abilities borrowed from Mewtwo, Naruko telepathically instructed them to intercept the incoming ships. With synchronized roars, the alligators dove into the sea, while the turtles marched to the bridge's edge and launched jets of water toward the enemy vessels. Descending from the sky, Naruko landed before Haku. The power of Moltres dissipated as she smiled at the surprised expressions of Haku, Tazuna, and Zabuza. Naruko-chan? Haku asked, stunned. Naruko gave a confident smile and declared, Yosh. The one and only, upgraded, of course. Turning serious, she called out, Oi, Kakashi-sensei. As satisfying as it might be to see the situation play out, we've got a real problem to handle. Kakashi, momentarily pausing from his scuffle with Sasuke, turned to Naruko, stunned by the change in her presence. Her Kyoshugin eyes, glowing with deep violet rings and snow-white tomoe, reflected in his headband. Naruko smiled faintly and said, explanations can wait. She rested Jinx over her shoulder and looked to Zabuza. Time to remind everyone why they call you a legend of the hidden mist. To Haku, she added warmly, you don't have to fight if your heart isn't in it. Then, turning to Tazuna with a playful smirk, she asked, hey old man, got any of that rice wine left? Tazuna, confused but intrigued, nodded and handed her a large bottle. Naruko's grin widened. Perfect. Watch closely. She took a large swig, cheeks puffing out, and once more channeled her dual elemental connection. With her mind, she spoke. White fire style, fangs of the great flame wolf. 10 massive wolves made entirely of radiant white fire materialized around her, each one growling protectively. The largest among them howled and charged forward toward the advancing army, followed by the rest. Let's make some noise, Naruko said. Shadow clone jutsu. Hundreds of clones emerged in synchronized bursts of smoke, each wielding a flaming jinx. Naruko and her clones charged as one. Zabuza, clearly impressed, drew his secondary blade. I like this girl, he murmured and joined the battle. Kakashi, revealing his Sharingan, muttered, the Hokage would definitely scold me for not helping. Besides, what kind of mentor stands by when his student needs support? Haku, donning her mask, said quietly, I will stand by my friend. Sakura, meanwhile, remained on the sidelines, clearly distracted by her concerns for Sasuke. On the battlefield, Naruko was a whirlwind of precise strikes and elemental coordination. With wind-based jutsu, she sent slicing blades spiraling through enemy formations. Her clones performed synchronized elemental combinations. Fire style, dragon flame jutsu. Lightning style, thunder serpent technique. The resulting fusion turned the sky into a brilliant storm of energy. Naruko moved gracefully, neutralizing opponents through carefully aimed kunai, explosive wind attacks, and elemental coordination, not violence, but precision and control. Eventually, only Gato remained, surrounded and restrained by Naruko's clones. Stepping forward, Naruko asked the crowd, what should we do with someone who tried to harm your home? They shouted, justice. Naruko nodded and raised her hand. She did not deliver harm but looked into Gato's eyes and said firmly, you are no longer in control here. Your influence ends now. This land belongs to its people. Gato was led away by clones for a proper trial under Tazuna's authority. Turning to the villagers, Naruko declared, Wave is free. The bridge will be built. A peaceful future starts today. The crowd erupted in joyful cheers. Naruko, Kakashi, Haku, and even Zabuza were lifted and celebrated by the grateful citizens. A week later, the bridge was complete. Naruko stood before a towering statue that honored her. It depicted her standing confidently with Jinx, flames beneath her, and her Kyoshugin glowing. On her arm, the people had carved a symbolic mark, a sea surrounded by patterns representing change and rebirth. She now wore a custom outfit gifted by the village, an open purple jacket with black flame trim, black gloves, stylized pants, and her headband gleaming proudly. Jinx was strapped across her back. Beside her stood Kakashi, smiling proudly. Haku offered a gentle expression of admiration. Zabuza read the plaque on the statue aloud. This is the statue of our hero. She was reborn here, gifted with divine strength. She watches over us, the protector of peace, guardian of this land. He turned and added with a smirk, they're really going to treat you like a goddess now, you know. Naruko rolled her eyes playfully. Let's just get back to Konoha before the fan clubs start organizing parades. Kakashi chuckled, welcome to the cost of being impressive. As they passed the recovering Sasuke and Sakura, who were still recovering from their past mistakes, Haku offered a subtle glare. She recalled how they had attempted to steal Naruko's powers for themselves. She also remembered how Naruko had defended herself firmly but mercifully. They'd had a peaceful, quiet journey for days now. Upon returning to Konoha, the team noticed something strange. People were no longer ignoring Naruko. In fact, many stared in awe or even admiration. Haku noticed it too. Naruko, deep in thought about how to train her Keishugan, barely noticed. Jinx encouraged her to improve her swordsmanship. They reached the Hokage Tower, and Naruko snapped back into focus. Kicking open the doors playfully, she announced. "Oi, old man. I'm back, and that was no C-rank mission." The Hokage, smiling knowingly, replied, "I'm aware, Naruko." "Wait, how?" Naruko blinked. Sarutobi slid a small black book across the desk. Naruko opened it and saw a photo of herself, wreathed in flame, mid-battle, slicing through opposition. Her eyes widened comically. Kakashi looked over her shoulder and gasped. Zabuza struggled not to laugh. Haku, meanwhile, was growing concerned for her friend. Kakashi read from the entry aloud. Ōtsutsuki Naruko, the Guardian of Fire. Eye color, violet with a rare pattern. Hair, platinum blonde. Height, 5 feet 4 inches. Summonings, advanced aquatic creatures. Dujutsu, Keishugan. Rank, Jinan. Abilities, high-level elemental jutsu, tactical intelligence, and exceptional swordsmanship. Known for restoring peace to Wave. First Jinan to be recorded in the bingo book. Naruko, hearing this, grinned and said enthusiastically, "Oh yeah. Now you'll definitely give me the Hokage hat, Grandpa." Sarutobi chuckled and responded, "Maybe when you reach S rank, but not before that." Naruko pouted and crossed her arms. "You're so unfair." He shook his head, his expression turning serious. Zabuza Momochi and his daughter, Haku Yuko Momochi, are going to become shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village, or I might accidentally inform the kunoichi of a certain crystal ball that can see through anything. Sarutobi's face turned pale. "You wouldn't do that to your grandfather, would you?" Naruko gave a sly smile. "Oh, I absolutely would, unless you make my friend and her father official shinobi of the village. Don't even try to doubt me. I already have shadow clones inside Konoha gathering some of the more influential kunoichi as we speak." Sarutobi let out a long sigh. "I knew letting Anko watch over you was going to be unpredictable." Naruko struck a proud pose. "You're right. Anko-ne taught me everything she knows, and so did Ibiki-ni and Inoki-san." Kakashi laughed quietly as Sarutobi's face lost more color. "She took you to the T&I department?" the Hokage asked hesitantly. Naruko giggled. "She did. Said it would help me learn to respect my elders. Honestly, I think I taught them a thing or two. Last time I checked, Ibiki-ni was still trying to beat my 5-second record for getting someone to talk." Sarutobi's sweat dropped at the thought. Shaking his head, he pulled out 2 forehead protectors and handed them to Zabuza and Haku. "Welcome to the Hidden Leaf Village," he said warmly. "An Anbu officer will escort you to the home we've arranged for you. Naruko, Kakashi, stay here. There's something important the two of you need to hear." Zabuza and Haku nodded respectfully, and before leaving, Haku gave Naruko a gentle hug. Once they were gone, Sarutobi exhaled deeply. "All right, Naruko, what I'm about to tell you is something Kakashi already knows. Please hold all your questions until I finish." Naruko nodded, her expression attentive. She didn't even notice Kakashi slipping his book into his pouch. Sarutobi began, "Naruko, you're not an orphan. You are Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, daughter of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. You were born 13 years ago during the night of the Nine Tails appearance. You have 2 older sisters, Kione and Akane, an older brother named Link, a twin sister named Naruko, that's you, and a younger sister named Natsumi. Yes, that means your parents, Kushina and Minato, are both alive. While you were away, they returned to the village. Not only did they reveal your true identity, but they also had you relocated from your apartment. No one knew they had survived, not even me. I'm telling you this now because they're in the next room and I've heard everything." Naruko's mind went blank for several seconds. When her thoughts returned, a surge of overwhelming emotion rose within her. She could feel the subtle thrum of her chakra resonating with Jinx, her sword. The energy built within her as she struggled to keep her emotions under control. The door opened, revealing her family, their faces lit with joyful smiles. Naruko squeezed her eyes shut, clenching her teeth. She was holding back her feelings with great effort, but Kakashi, standing beside her, could clearly sense the intensity of her chakra. He knew the storm that was brewing. Kakashi, meanwhile, wasn't bothering to restrain himself. His aura radiated with tension, his eyes fixed in an icy stare at the family who had just entered. Kushina stepped forward with a kind smile. "Hello, Naruko-chan. How have you been, my sweet girl?" That was the breaking point. Naruko opened her eyes, revealing deep violet irises ringed with 6 tomoe on the innermost ring. Her pupils had taken on a fierce shape. She glared directly at Kushina with unwavering intensity. "Don't call me that," she said in a quiet, controlled tone filled with pain. Kakashi gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Naruko. Enough. You're scaring everyone, including the Hokage." Naruko breathed deeply and gradually let her chakra settle. She stood up calmly, then turned toward the door. "I'll be in the Forest of Tranquility if you need me, Kakashi-sensei. Please tell Anko-ne too." With that, she left the room and closed the door behind her, leaving an unsettling silence behind. Sarutobi took a shaky breath. I've never felt such overwhelming presence before. It was like the very air became heavier. Kakashi, pale and shaken, nodded. That was far more intense than anything I've experienced, even compared to the Nine Tails. And somehow, she pulled it all back in. Then Kakashi suddenly rushed to a bin and lost his composure. Minato, helping Kushina sit down, looked up. What just happened? Sarutobi, giving them a long look, was about to respond when the door slammed open. Anko strode in, twin kunai in hand, snakes coiled and ready from her sleeves. Her gaze swept across the room. I felt Naruko's energy spike just now. What happened? What upset her that badly? Kakashi, still recovering, pointed toward the Namikaze family. Anko's expression shifted as her eyes narrowed. She quickly pieced it together. Ignoring Kushina completely, she asked, "Where did she go?" Kakashi replied, "Forest of Tranquility." Anko groaned. "Fantastic. She knows that place better than anyone. I'll be searching all day." She turned to Sarutobi. "I'll need some funds for ramen and dengo." Sarutobi handed her a card with a resigned look. "That's my personal account. Please don't drain it, I still need to buy groceries." Anko flashed a mischievous grin. "No promises. I'll buy you dengo too, though." With that, she vanished in a swirl of leaves, leaving behind a muttering Hokage. Sarutobi turned to the Namikaze family with a stern expression. "Now, you can start explaining to us why you left Naruko behind all those years ago." Minato gently helped Kushina settle onto the couch and began, "Well, it's a bit complicated." When the conversation ended, Kakashi was looking at Minato and his family with an expression that clearly read, "This was definitely not your finest decision." Meanwhile, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, sat at his desk with a hand to his forehead, sighing heavily. Eventually, Sarutobi looked up and said, "Minato Namikaze, that might be the most unwise plan I've ever heard. You entrusted your daughter, who carries the nine-tailed fox, to a village that wasn't prepared to understand or protect her, while training her twin sister to elite levels. And now you return, after Kushina has another daughter?" Minato gave an awkward chuckle. "Yup." Everyone blinked as the sound of a light laugh came from the doorway. They turned to see Anko leaning on the frame, bruised and a little dusty. Her eye slightly swollen, she muttered, "If any of you go near Naruko now, she's going to be very disappointed with you." She limped in, followed closely by a concerned Kurenai, and dropped into a seat. "Hey Kakashi, did my little troublemaker really become some kind of legend?" she asked with a groan. Kakashi shrugged. "Honestly, I was just glad she was okay. I forgot to ask for the full story." Sarutobi turned to Anko. "What happened?" Anko rubbed her neck. "Well, I challenged her to a spar, kind of foolish in hindsight. At first she just used speed and precision, but eventually she started incorporating her sword. It was intense. One swing nearly felled several trees. I tried blocking with a kunai and nearly lost grip from the force. Then she began using techniques that I'm certain were high level. There was even a tidal wave at one point. I may still have the chills from her ice-style jutsu. And don't even get me started on her lightning moves. Let's just say, she's grown a lot." Kakashi nodded. "Be thankful she was holding back. I remember how she handled the Uchiha boy." Sarutobi blinked. "Is that why he's limping?" Kakashi nodded. "That, and because he tried something he shouldn't have." Naruko defended someone and responded accordingly. It was a quick, clean stop, no lasting harm done, but a firm message sent. Sarutobi sighed deeply. "And the Haruno girl?" Kakashi replied lightly, "Naruko lost her patience and gave her a warning, just enough to teach respect. Nothing more." Just then, the office door burst open and 3 young ninjas stormed in, all sporting bright eyes and determined faces. "Anko-ne. Where's big sister Naruko?" Konohamaru asked. Sarutobi blinked. How do you three even sense chakra that well? Moegi bowed. Naruko-ne has been training us after school. She taught us how to remain calm under pressure and how to identify chakra signatures like killing intent. She also taught us the basics of chakra control. Kakashi looked curious. Did she tell you what a shinobi's greatest weapon is? Udon adjusted his glasses. Deception, of course. Kurenai raised an eyebrow. She told you that? All three nodded proudly. She said you told her something similar, Kakashi-sensei, look underneath the underneath. Kakashi chuckled. That does sound like me. Konohamaru added, she also said you once said something weird about the Hyuga clan, but I didn't really get it. Anko narrowed her eyes at Kakashi with a grin. Kakashi, I hope you're keeping things kid-appropriate. Kakashi raised his hands in surrender. Of course. No questionable reading material either. Sarutobi nervously chuckled as Kakashi vanished in a puff of smoke. The kids all decided it was time to visit Naruko, while Sarutobi faced the amusingly stern glares of several kunoichi. Later that day, Naruko sat quietly at her favorite ramen shop, Jinx, the fox spirit, now safely residing in her newly crafted sword. She stirred her ramen absent-mindedly, deep in thought. Kakashi arrived moments later. All right, Naruko, Kakashi said, I believe you owe me an explanation. Naruko smiled faintly. Not until everyone's here. Soon, the shop was filled with familiar faces, Zabuza, Haku, Kurenai, Asuma, Guy, Lee, Hinata, Shino, Kiba, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, Tenten, and more, including a very composed Sarutobi. Naruko stood and said, Ayame-chan, can you close the stand for a moment? Once everyone was seated, Naruko took a deep breath. All right, what I'm about to share is true. No interruptions until the end, okay? Everyone nodded. During Team 7's mission to Wave, I had an experience. While unconscious, I met three incredible figures, Tsubasa, a divine being, Kaguya Ōtsutsuki, the ancestral mother of chakra, and Kami, guardian of an entire realm of powerful beings called Pokemon. Through a ritual, I was given a new form, part Ōtsutsuki. I gained a unique dojutsu that blends elements from the Byakugan, Sharingan, and Rinnegan, and I've only just begun to unlock its full power. Everyone listened in awe. I also received blessings from some legendary Pokemon. Giratina gave me the ability to create pocket dimensions. Moltres gifted me control over immense flames. Articuno gave me the chill of powerful winter winds. Kyogre allowed me to create entire aquatic zones. Mewtwo, a psychic powerhouse, lent me mental abilities. And finally, Zekrom infused me with lightning energy stronger than storms. Ino raised her hand. What are Pokemon? They're majestic, intelligent creatures from Kami's world, Naruko explained. Some are gentle, some powerful beyond belief. Kurenai asked, are they bigger than tailed beasts? Naruko nodded. Some are. But it's not always about size, power comes in many forms. Some can manipulate dreams, others control the weather. Their strength is balanced by their wisdom. Shikamaru, arms folded, asked, are you planning to keep all this to yourself? Naruko smiled. No. But I'm also not looking to make a big deal of it. I'll keep training like always. Lee and Guy, now fired up, declared her their new eternal rival. Naruko blinked in confusion. Kakashi chuckled. It's the price of excellence. You gain fans, and very energetic rivals. Yuago asked if she wanted help refining her swordplay. Naruko nodded. Yes, definitely. Jinx is always telling me to polish my technique. As the discussion turned to training and future missions, Konohamaru raised his hand. Can we learn powerful jutsu from you? Naruko raised an eyebrow. Only if you're keeping up with Iruka-sensei's classes and behaving yourselves. Iruka, surprised, added, they've already mastered the tree climbing technique. Naruko laughed. That was just to keep them from sneaking into the tea and I wing again. Shino asked, are there any Pokemon similar to insects? Naruko grinned. Absolutely. There's a whole bug-type category. Some are even legendary. Then Kakashi asked, will you keep your teammates in line? Naruko grinned. Let's just say they've been learning the value of teamwork. Sarutobi asked, do you want me to inform the council? Naruko shrugged. Sure. There's nothing they can really do. When asked about the Namikaze family, Naruko calmly responded, I'm not part of that family anymore. I'm proud of who I am now, Ōtsutsuki Naruko. As the crowd dispersed, everyone left deep in thought, marveling at the incredible young kunoichi they'd come to know. Sasuke, who arrived just moments after Sakura, looked displeased, clearly puzzled by what Naruko was doing. Soon after, Kakashi appeared and blinked as he noticed Naruko and Lee not too far off. He wasn't surprised when Guy and his Jinan team showed up shortly thereafter. Spotting Naruko and Lee, Guy exclaimed cheerfully, "Ah, the youthful spirit burns brightly within these two. Look at the determination in Naruko-chan's eyes." Neji, slightly exasperated, responded, "Guy-sensei, must we always speak in metaphors about youth?" Kenten remained silent, clearly focused as she observed Naruko's well-toned athletic build. Recognizing that the friendly sparring session needed to come to an end, Kakashi spoke up. "Hey Naruko, your admirers are on the way." Hearing this, Naruko quickly stepped away from Lee and appeared beside Kakashi with a light-hearted expression. "Where are they coming from this time?" Kakashi gave one of his signature eye smiles and replied, "I was just teasing, Naruko. If they really were coming, I'd have made my escape already. Come on, let's head out for a D-rank mission." Naruko, relaxing with her hands behind her head, responded, "All right, Kakashi-sensei. But I hope we're not chasing after Tora again." Kakashi, now engrossed in his book, answered casually, "Not this time." With that, he walked away from Training Ground 7, Naruko strolling by his side, followed by a quietly fuming Sasuke and a visibly frustrated Sakura. 4 days later, Naruko was joyfully chasing Konohamaru, Moigi, and Udon through the streets of Konoha. She was helping the 3 young ninja improve their agility and reflexes by turning their training into a game of tag. Earlier that day, Sakura had made a snide remark that didn't sit well, but Naruko had coolly responded in a way reminiscent of Kakashi, leaving Sakura rather flustered. Just as the kids turned the corner, there was a sound of a minor collision followed by Konohamaru exclaiming, "Ow! That hurt!" Naruko quickly rounded the corner, her eyes narrowing as she noticed a boy from Sunagakure dressed in a dark outfit with cat ear-like accessories on his hood, holding Konohamaru by his blue scarf. The boy had purple markings on his face, resembling face paint. Standing behind him, looking disinterested, was a blonde girl with a large fan strapped to her back. The boy scolded, "Watch where you're going, kid." The girl, sighing, said, "Kankuro, let him go. We don't have time for this." Kankuro replied, "Relax, Tamari. I'm just teaching the little guy a lesson." Tamari, clearly unimpressed, added, "Just make sure you don't cause any trouble." Just as Kankuro raised his hand, ready to scare Konohamaru further, a cool voice interrupted him. "I suggest you put my little brother down." Startled, Kankuro turned his head to see Naruko calmly holding her training blade near him. Though it wasn't threatening, the message was clear: back off. Konohamaru, now safely on the ground, stuck his tongue out playfully and said, "Boss told you." Tamari facepalmed. "Kankuro, why do you never listen? Now we've got an elite shinobi correcting your behavior." Naruko gave Kankuro a firm look and said, "It's best you listen to your older sister, Catman. Things might go smoother that way." Turning slightly, Naruko called out, "I know you're watching, Gaara. You can come out now." At that moment, Gaara appeared from the shadows of a nearby tree, his expression humble. "My apologies. We didn't mean to interrupt your time with your younger teammates." Naruko nodded coolly. Apology accepted. Turning to the kids, she said, "Since you didn't stay alert to your surroundings, your next training session will include a dodge drill with Anko-sensei, after Iruka-sensei's lecture on awareness." All 3 groaned and trudged off toward the academy. As they left, Naruko addressed the Suna team, "I look forward to seeing all 3 of you in the Chunin exams, Tamari of the desert, Kankuro of the puppets, and Gaara of the sand." With that, she turned and walked away, missing the surprised expressions on Kankuro's and Gaara's faces, and the subtle blush that crept across Tamari's cheeks. Naruko soon arrived at the bridge where her team usually met. As expected, Sakura was pestering Sasuke for attention while he silently ignored her. Taking a seat on the bridge railing, Naruko pulled out her training weapon, Jinx, and began polishing it, tuning out Sakura's chatter. Kakashi eventually appeared in his usual dramatic swirl of leaves. Smiling behind his mask, he handed them each a slip of paper. "You're all signed up for the Chunin exams. Meet at room 301. Whether you decide to take it or not, I'm proud of each of you." And with that, he vanished. Naruko tucked the paper away and decided to stop by Training Ground 8. A gentle snow-like breeze swirled around her as she vanished and reappeared near the clearing. She noticed Kiba, Shino, and Hinata walking off but couldn't see their sensei. Closing her eyes, Naruko focused. Using her developing sensory abilities, she located Kurenai nearby, her emotions slightly unsettled. Appearing beside her on a log, Naruko asked gently, "Is everything okay, Kurenai-sensei?" Kurenai turned away, quickly wiping her eyes. "I'm fine, really." Naruko frowned slightly, taking her hand with care. "I can tell when someone's hurting. You don't have to pretend." Sighing, Kurenai finally spoke, "I was going to tell Asuma how I felt. But I walked in on him with someone else." Naruko's expression softened. "That must have been really hard to see." Kurenai nodded. "It felt like my heart just cracked a little." Naruko offered, "If you need a shoulder to lean on, I'm here." Kurenai gave a small laugh. "You and Anko always seem to have ways to let out your emotions." Naruko smirked. "That's our strategy, friendly sparring helps keep things balanced. She's not the only one with bruises either." She lifted her shirt slightly, revealing a few faint bruises. "I'm experimenting with regenerative abilities. Haku thinks I might be able to heal faster if I can learn to channel energy correctly." Kurenai smiled softly and asked, "Naruko, do you think I'm beautiful?" Naruko blinked, then nodded. "You're one of the most graceful and stunning kunoichi I've ever met. You're intelligent, strong, and you never let anyone step over you. You have eyes that shine like crimson gems, and your kindness is just as remarkable as your skills." Kurenai blushed at the sincere compliment. Naruko, smiling brightly, asked, "Would you like to hear a song I've been working on?" Kurenai, calming down, nodded. "Sure, as long as it's not too silly." Naruko pulled out a sleek, black guitar and strummed a few soft chords. Musical notes emoji, "Well, this hurts me more than I can stand to say. In just one sitting, you left the room so I could pray," musical notes emoji. As Naruko sang, more and more kunoichi who had been nearby were drawn in by her voice, Anko, Yuago, Ino, Hinata, Moigi, Ayame, Haku, and Tenten among them. By the end of the song, they were all gathered, quietly swooning. Naruko glanced up and chuckled nervously. "Maybe I got a little carried away." Ino squealed in excitement and lunged toward her in a hug, but Naruko quickly swapped places with a log and called over her shoulder, "And with that, I take my leave, exit, stage left." She dashed off playfully, trailed by a crowd of admirers. After arriving safely at her apartment, she sealed the doors and windows, then sighed with relief. Changing into comfortable clothes, she made a simple dinner, eggs, vegetables, and juice, before heading into a relaxing shower. The warm water washed away the day's stress. After drying off and dressing in comfortable sleepwear, she checked on a tube filled with shimmering nanobots on her desk. "They're coming along nicely," she whispered with a proud smile. This could change the future of shinobi technology. Yawning, she slipped into bed and turned off the lights, falling asleep peacefully. The next morning, she rolled over, only to realize she wasn't hugging a pillow. Jumping up in surprise, she saw Kurenai lying beside her peacefully, fully dressed and sound asleep. Confused but calm, Naruko walked to the bathroom and found Anko and Yuago asleep in the tub, cuddled under a blanket. She blinked in surprise again when she found Ino, Hinata, Ayame, and Tenten passed out around her kitchen table. Smiling lightly and shaking her head, she grabbed a toaster pastry, equipped Jinx, and tucked her earphones into her ears. Walking through the early streets of Konoha, Naruko softly hummed the song she'd recorded. Musical notes emoji, "You have no idea how unproductive it is to fall in and out of you as often as I do," musical notes emoji. Today was the beginning of the Chunin exams, and Naruko was ready to show the world her strength as the goddess of innovation, harmony, and strength. Dear YouTube family, that's all for now, but the journey doesn't end here. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected. Your support means the world. Thank you for watching. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.